What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of AJ Porter Golf. Had an awesome video again yet for you this week. Like I said, I just feel really honored to be able to sit down with all of these incredible guests, especially this early in my podcast career and this journey, right? So this week we had Jeff LoVecchio. Jeff played professional hockey for 10 years, which that in itself is a feat. But then now he also works with a lot of the best players in the world in both the NHL and NFL. Most notably Kyron Williams, Tony Adams, and a bunch of players in the NHL. We sat down this week, and the main topic of discussion was details, right? So ultimately, the goal of this podcast is to try and fledge out what the difference makers are that will allow yourself to reach the highest levels of the game that you would want to reach, as long as myself, right? So ultimately, I am going to be, once we kind of establish this list, I'm going to be producing content and testing the theory to see if it is possible for someone like myself to get to the highest levels of golf. So this week was really awesome with Jeff. We sat down and we talked about a number of things. Most importantly was details, right? So details. There's all these certain little things where you can pick up a percent, pick up a 0.5%, and next thing you know, you're 10, 15, 20% better, and it doesn't feel like you did anything dramatically different. So that was one of the main things. I mean, we really went into the daily disciplines. He talked about meditation, he talked about proper sleep habits, he talked about proper nutrition. I mean, he walked through all the differences. And then we also talked about what makes the difference of the elite, right? Like even like the Kyron Williams of the world. And yes, there are genetic differences, right? Like I think it'd be foolish for us to say, oh yeah, no, everybody's exactly the same. Like we're all built different. It's all different. But I think he's a walking testament to, if you put your mind to it and you pay attention to all of the details and you're doing the right work day after day after day after day, I think you really surprise yourself how far you can go, and I think that's definitely my biggest takeaway. We talked in the video a little bit about sleep habits and subconscious, and the fact that where confidence comes from, right? So confidence has been a big part of the What's the Difference program. Before we talked about with James Colin Davis, Christian Heavens, Scott Fawcett, Ryan Sullivan. We talked about with everybody, right? And Jeff had a really interesting take on where confidence comes from. And for him, confidence comes from doing the right things and doing all of the details properly every single day. He's like, I was playing my best if I'd go, let's say, 8 weeks without cheating on my diet. Like I'm going into that game and I know that I did the right things. I did everything I properly could. I'm sleeping well. I'm doing all my stretching. I'm doing all my workouts. I'm doing all these different things. And I have confidence because I know I'm doing all the details right. So, his biggest thing is details. And, you could really surprise yourself how far you could take this game. So, really enjoying this program. Another little bit of a detour here, but I hope you guys will find it interesting to just really sit down and talk about what makes the difference at all levels. The theory is still going, right? So that you need to have a certain level of speed. You need to have excellent lag putting. I'm kind of taking a detour on purpose with the mental and physical sides of things. Like obviously golf is a skill acquisition game. We have Carl Morris coming on in a couple weeks, and we're going to get really big into the skill acquisition part of golf, which I think is awesome. But I wanted to talk about things that maybe are a little bit away from the golf course that are probably bigger difference makers than what you would think. So I hope you enjoy this, and I hope you understand the path that we're going on. If you have any questions, please leave them down below. If not, we'll see you next Monday.